Hello and a very warm welcome to GBS Late Night News. My name is George Okachi. Now to begin with, the Kenya National Union of Teachers has refuted claims by the government that the legal notice number 534 of 1997 is null and void because of amendments made to it in 2003. Today, the union went ahead and invited former leaders of the union to give an account of the events that led to the crafting of the deal 16 years ago. Former NAT Secretary General Francis Ng'ang'a said, contrary to the government's position on the matter, the legal notice stood and urged the current union leaders to push for their agenda. Meanwhile, the Kenya National Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, has suspended their strike for 2 weeks in readiness to engage the government in dialogue.
Yesterday, the Kenya National Union of Teachers said the court's ruling that required their members to report to work today will not shake them and vowed to stay put. To drive the point home, the union invited the former leaders of the union who were part of the process that led to issuance of the now famous legal notice number 534 of 1997.
We had some news from senior government officials misleading the country that we signed some documents that is purported to be reducing, the talks that is going on with the teachers.
They deny having knowledge of any alterations made to the agreement and say the current packages that the teachers were enjoying were due to the agreement, so they expected the government to honor the deal fully.
If it was not existing, they should not have paid those packages, hardship allowance, and the special duties, and which other allowance? Those allowances pegged on that legal notice, which they are not paid. So it has been a struggle for the union since independence.
While urging on the current union to push for its members' rights, former Secretary General Francis Ng'ang'a punched holes in the government's defense that the legal notice number 16 of 2003 was unlawful and said its introduction was sinister.
Because the negotiations were signed on 24th May 2003, the legal notice you are talking about 16 then was on 21st of February 2003. How do you implement a salary which has not been negotiated or agreed upon?
The current chair, Wilson Sossion, claimed that there was intimidation of head teachers and principals, a move he says will not work and could further complicate matters for the government.
The directives that Teacher Service Commission is trying to give to head teachers and principals to go back to their stations and take roll call of teachers, we are telling them they will be ashamed.
With the strike in its second week, parents with kids in public schools can only hope the tug of war between the government and the teachers can come to an end soon.
Hili ni jambo ambalo serikali wanastahili kuchukulia maanani sana, kwa sababu watoto maskini ndio wanaumia. Sisi sote tuweze kupeleka watoto wetu katika private schools. Kwa hivyo tafadhali serikali na walimu waketi, wazungumze, wasikizane.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, has suspended their strike for 2 weeks in readiness to engage the government in dialogue. The union's top leadership has said this is in line with the directive by the Industrial Court that teachers go back to work to allow for negotiations. Eric Munene, GBS News.
Now, away from the teacher's story, Consumer Federation of Kenya today staged a major demo along the streets of the city offices of the Finance Minister, President and to the National Assembly, protesting the government's bid to reintroduce the value-added tax VAT on basic commodities. The angry lot claims the government is advancing unfavorable modes of revenue collection, targeting those at the base of the economic ladder.
Before the contentious bill could even get its way to the National Assembly for debate, there is eminent displeasure from members of the public. Today, Consumers Federation of Kenya (COFEX) staged a demo right from Uhuru Park's Freedom Corner along the city's busy streets to the Treasury building that houses Finance Secretary Henry Rotich. After a futile moment of long wait for the minister though, the protesters headed to the president's office at Aramba House and later proceeded to parliament where they laid petitions against the government.
Hakuna jera ambao ni mbaya kuliko jera ya umaskini na ya kuongezea ya unga hii. Kwa hivyo you can be sure we are standing with you na tutasimama na nyinyi na tutafanya pamoja na nyinyi kazi kuhakikisha kwamba tumerebarate this country from business and seconds that they were going in.
I'm going to the house to oppose the motion. That's my position.
Hakuna VAT itakuja juu unga, juu sukari ama chakula yote.
Among the items likely to dig deep into the taxpayer's pocket is bread, maize flour, sanitary towels, and other basic food commodities. A furious protest awaits the country's working poor and middle class in the face of reintroduction of the VAT bill, which is likely to have adverse implications on the cost of living, as prices of basic commodities are set to shoot up. And bearing the brunt is an already ailing taxpayers, the government grapples to foot its 1.6 trillion budget. The government is seeking to raise 10 billion Kenya shillings through the VAT bill. Samuel Tawish, GBS News.
Well, it will be interesting to find out how this unfolds. Now, moving on, all corrupt officers within the police service have been warned by the Principal Secretary Mutaya Iringo, together with the Inspector General David Kimayo, just days after the President gave his stern warning on the same. The two were speaking during the unveiling of 7 committees that have been formed by the National Police Service Commission to see the full implementation of the much expected police reforms.
What was once the Kenya Police Force has seen strides of reforms, with much more still to be witnessed with today's police service. While unveiling the 7 committees that have been formed to oversee the implementation of police reforms, the Inspector General David Kimayo has given stern warnings to corrupt officers, especially within the traffic department.
These particular committees will come up with some of those frameworks, and we shall be able to deal seriously on the issues of traffic violators, including those on road with motor vehicles, carrying excess passengers, overreaching, overloving, the popularly known Michugi rules that we are going to follow. At the same time, the issue of corruption that we are going to focus ourselves on, especially these particular committees should be able to come up with a framework to deal with all those spices for the betterment of the service within the National Police Service.
Committees formed revolve around advice on reforms implementation and monitoring framework, audit operations in police stations, housing and other welfare needs, to review legal provisions on traffic management, identify areas of crime research and early warning mechanisms, and also to audit police training institutions and review their curriculum.
And we came up with about 210 recommendations. So far, I'm sure we have done several, and we are still on. Of course, one of the major obstacles to implementation of all these reforms, one, of course, is resources, and this is also expected because there is no program that you undertake in a single phase anywhere in the world. Resources are always limited, even in the developed world. So we are really on course, but we would like to move faster. The promulgation of
the National Police Service Commission has also assured that vetting of police officers is still on track.
Where we are in the process of ensuring that a suitable tool that is not necessarily intended to punish police officers, but one which is intended also to identify competences, skills that will lead to proper placement of police officers. That really is the thrust of vetting. The fact of those that may exit is not really the focus in this case. But undeniably, like you have put it, in every organization, when you carry out a vetting process, significantly, not everybody survives.
Henry Maina, GBS News.
So the Albinism Society of Kenya has today filed a court petition on the inflation of the procurement of the sunscreen lotions to be used by persons with albinism by the National Council for Persons with Disability, NCPWD. The National Coordinator for Albinism Society of Kenya, Isaac Moora, argued that the NCWPD is currently conducting a census of persons with albinism at district level, while there were only county and national governments. He said that some of the members were suffering from skin cancer, and yet the government has made it impossible for all the important sunscreen to be available.
The Albinism Society of Kenya has filed a court petition seeking to revert what they say is inflated procurement of sunscreen lotions and a shambolic census exercise by the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, which they said was not publicized in good time and manner.
The National Council, through Phoebe Nyagudi, the director, and we must mention her in particular because she's the one in charge of the process, has gone ahead and procured, in this contract between themselves and Suken, 19,500 bottles. So we are asking really, we went to the streets to demand that we be included in government programming. But ours was not to come and enrich a few individuals. This is a genuine case, it's a matter of life and death. And yet we have individuals who want to think that they will take advantage of such something that is in motion.
The National Coordinator for Albinism Society of Kenya, Isaac Mwaura, said that the money they had demanded for the sunscreen lotions was not properly and accounted for by the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. In addition, the price of the sunscreen in the local market is way beyond the reach of many persons living with albinism. This, he says, contravenes Article 33 of the Constitution, which provides that all products should be made available in real market rates.
We feel that we are told as members to go and register the nearest district social development office. Ladies and gentlemen, you know very well there is no unit, administrative units currently called district. We only have the national and county government. So I don't know where our members are supposed to go. And yet we had advised earlier on that it be done at the chief's level, at the village level, and also with the involvement of persons with albinism, because as you may have seen in the media, people are even running away because they cannot trust the exercise.
He noted with concern that some of the members have been affected by skin cancer, which is common among persons with albinism. Therefore, the product should be made available to them pronto.
The condition of albinism, the skin type is classified as a subtype of skin type 1. These are people who have the lowest levels of melanin in their body, little or no melanin. And many of our members have succumbed to skin cancer. Some of them who are here, like, where is Maurice? Maurice?
The members are still demanding that the National Assembly formulates an Act of Parliament for persons with albinism. Diana Mbogwa, GBS News.
And now the second medium-term plan for Vision 2030, which was set to start early this year, is expected to kick off in mid-August after the draft plan has been harmonized with the changes in governance as well as the economic status in the country and globally. The Vision Delivery Secretariat, together with relevant stakeholders and cabinet secretaries led by the Ministry of Planning and Devolution, held a workshop today to harmonize the plans as well as review challenges faced in implementing the first medium-term plans.
As a strategy to transform Kenya into a middle-income economy, Vision 2030 was unveiled under the Kibaki leadership in 2008. The vision, which is implemented in 5-year successive medium-term plans, saw its first term end in 2012. Among the accomplished flagship projects in the first term are the new constitution and the construction of Thika superhighway. But even as the second term starts, some of the projects in the first term are yet to be celebrated. The economy goal for the first term was to grow by 10% per annum, which was never accomplished during the 5-year term. The average annual economy growth rate was 3.8%. Relocating IDPs was also in the first medium-term plan, which is also yet to see the light of the day. Several challenges contributed to this.
Significant progress has been made in implementing the first MTP. This was albeit the challenges that characterize the implementation period.
The post-violence, it came in the middle of the, almost starting the MTP. We were never actively involving ourselves in the activities. Secondly, internally, was to do with the coalition government itself. You know, and whether we like it or not, is a reality in the sense that we had two governments in one, and that brought a lot of issues, and most Kenyans could even see it. The third one really affected in terms of our exports and in terms of imports because of the global crisis of 2008, and that affected nearly everybody. And that more recently, and perhaps more close to us, is a Euro crisis.
As to whether the delay in implementing the first-term plans will affect the second-term plans, Vision 2030 Social Pillar Director Gituro Wainaina says it will not, because it is a continuous process. He reckons that now most of the goals are in line with the Jubilee government manifesto, things will be much easier.
And what is more reassuring is that the manifesto of the ruling party, of Jubilee manifesto, is a copycat of actually the things we want to do in the Vision 2030. So that will make it better.
The second medium-term plan, which is in line with the 19 sector plans, focuses more on power generation, ICT, security, food insecurity, job creation, among others, but a lot of focus will be put on working together with the county government as well as national government. Namkabo Werunga, GBS News.
And now moving on, a researcher with the Kenya Institute of Public Policy Research and Analysis has recommended separate lanes for public service vehicles and personal cars to reduce traffic congestion in Nairobi. Professor Zachary Gary, a senior policy analyst, says the PSVs have been blamed for the incessant jams in the city, yet research shows that private cars occupy 90% of the roads.
Any sighting of traffic jam brings to mind the infamous Matatu madness, but recent survey seems to agree with many Matatu operators that private cars are the major causes of traffic jam in Nairobi. According to Professor Zachary Gary, a researcher with the Kenya Institute of Public Policy Research and Analysis, public service vehicles occupy only 10% of the roads in the city.
The car covers between 20 to 90 times more costly in terms of urban space and also publicly funded infrastructure than the same journey made by public transport. Studies reveal that 54% of people living in households which did not own a car walked to their destinations, while 34% were dependent on public transport.
Professor Gary also attributed the congestion to the alleged non-involvement of stakeholders during the drafting of the Physical Planning Act of 1996 and the Constitution 2010. He called on the government to give incentives to investors to put up facilities including hospitals, schools, universities, industries, and shopping malls in peri-urban areas to reduce the need for people to travel to the city center.
Concentration of development, job opportunities are only within the CBD area and its environs. That creates more or less radial transport network where people move from outside, they all approach the city center in the morning, then they all move out in the evening, and that creates havoc.
Professor Gary was speaking at a Kenya Alliance of Resident Association, KARA, Planning and Transportation Forum, where he blamed congestion on the city's roads to poor planning, poor PSV services, and lack of space for expansion of roads, mostly occasioned by the high compensation demanded by those who are supposed to give up land for road expansion. Monica Kilemba, GBS.
Now moving on, Housing Finance has announced it intends to tap into real estate investment trust REIT to fund its business expansion. According to Managing Director for Housing Finance Frank Ireri, REITs are expected to spur development and widespread investment in properties in Kenya once legislation is passed by Parliament. In addition, demand for REITs is expected to be strongest in Nairobi before spreading to other regions' markets in Kenya as they mature. According to current legislation, there will be a minimum subscription of 5 million Kenyan shillings for a development rate which involves development and construction projects. Ireri said that the legislation, which is yet to be passed by Parliament, will address costs such as legal costs and fees to all professionals defined in the rates. The industry is, however, concerned by the costs of forming and running rates, which they warn could negatively affect the viability of proposed projects. Mr. Ireri also proposes the waiver of stamp duty on transfer of assets to a rate, adding that the formation of rates requires the properties to be transferred into the rate, unlike joint venture transactions. And now, moving on and across the border, Somalia marked 53 years of independence yesterday in a colorful ceremony held at the Koni Stadium in Mogadishu. Various representatives from the country's security forces, cultural groups and government armed forces gathered at the stadium to mark the significant milestone with marches, various performances and speeches.
In a demonstration mood of the unwavering resolve to take charge of their country's destiny, the Somali people thronged Mogadishu city to mark the country's 53 years of independence. The event, which was attended by Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, saw an entourage of government officials who, despite all the challenges facing the country, were proud of the recent developments and the irreversible gains made.
I'd like to congratulate all Somali people everywhere on the 53rd anniversary of our independence and unity. It's the day when the name of Somalia was established in the world.
Somalia has much to celebrate this year as its security forces, assisted by the African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM, are now in control of all but a few parts of the Horn of African country.
We are celebrating the 53rd anniversary of our independence. July 1st is a very happy day, and it is a day that all Somalis hold very dear.
Many of those who gathered at the stadium to celebrate said it was a clear sign that Somalia was on the path to recovery.
This is a very big day for all Somalis, both here and abroad. It's a happy day because it's July 1st, and we thank God that we're able to stand here after 53 years, today and last night as well, in order to celebrate. I congratulate all the Somalis wherever they are.
The celebrations came just when the Somali government is accusing a section of the AMISOM troops of violating their mandate and has further demanded a replacement of the section in question with what they termed as a more neutral African Union force. The AMISOM forces joined the Kenya Defense Forces, who went to Somalia in 2011 to deal with the Al-Shabaab menace following several attacks in Kenyan territory, among them the killing and kidnapping of foreign nationals. The Somali government and its partners are now focused on stabilizing the country and rebuilding its infrastructure, social, political and economic systems following decades of internal conflicts. Josephine Wawera, GBS.
And also at a ceremony in Bamako, Mali, United Nations peacekeepers took over the command from the African Union AU mission in the West African nation. The move is to begin UN military mission in Mali, which was under the command of around 6,000 West African.
The official change of power ceremony took place in the presence of representatives of the international community. From now on, the Blue Helmets are officially in charge of keeping peace in Mali.
It's been 6 months and all the tasks that were put in front of us are practically completed. As I had already pointed out, the north of Mali is liberated. The operations of stabilization have started and we are present in all the towns in the north, including Kidal. Nous sommes présents dans toutes les villes du nord, y compris à Kidal.
Since January, about 4,500 French troops, with the help of Malians and West African soldiers, have gained control of most of the region's main towns and cities.
I'll see what the Malian government position is, but we are ready to support them for whatever date they may choose.
Security reinforcement in Mali comes just when presidential elections is set to be held in July this year, with the second runoff planned for August if required, with parliamentary elections also planned around the same time.
Nous voulons une élection qui permette au Mali.
We want elections that will enable Mali to end the crisis. That is what we are focusing on. If it's not at 28th of this month or the next one, it is not a big problem for us. And once again, it is not up to us to decide. We are here to support Malian government in the electoral process.
Le gouvernement malien dans le processus électoral.
However, the rebels have gone to ground, and many Malians fear that the UN forces may not have the same restriction effect. Earlier, there were 6,000 strong peacekeeping forces in Mali, and with addition of UN troops, this will grow to more than 12,000 troops on the ground. Antonin Anyango, GBS News.
Now, away from that, the Sevens rugby team is back into the country, and to find out more about this, tune in for sports up next. A very warm welcome to GBS Sports News. After finishing fourth in the World Sevens Rugby World Cup in Moscow, Russia, the team returned back home on today in the morning, before it was awarded a check of 900,000 by sponsors Kenya Airways for its performance in its second global appearance since the 2009 World Cup bonanza. Kenya lost to Fiji in the third place playoffs after a 12-5 loss to England in the main cup semi-finals before New Zealand were crowned the world champions. Chairman Mwangi Muthee announced that head coach Mike Friday will remain the team's coach following the excellent performance this season.
The Kenya Rugby Sevens team that finished fourth overall at the just concluded Rugby World Cup Sevens in Moscow returned in the country on Tuesday morning and was received at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport by the Kenya Rugby Union stock brass led by Chairman Mwangi Muthee, Sports Secretary Japheth Mania, and Sports Commissioner Gordon Oluoch, before heading to the Ole Sereni Hotel for breakfast, hosted by Kenya Airways in 4 stretch limousines, provided at no cost by Royal Hometown and Events Limited. Team sponsors Kenya Airways presented a check of 900,000 shillings to the team as a token of appreciation for their performance. Muthee hailed the team for its impressive performance in Russia, as it was a result of hard work and commitment by the players and the technical bench. The chairman also expressed belief in Mike Friday, who will remain the head coach of the team following his success this season.
For you to just discontinue a contract, it can be very expensive for you. You must better have very good reasons to do that. And about a contract with Mike Friday, I don't see any good reason that should make us cut that contract. Mike has done a good job. We all know that when we were assigning him, we wanted to get out of the relegation bracket from the International Rugby Board World Series. And we all know that we kept revising our expectations.
We also had a couple of chances in the second half. We dominated the game, and unfortunately a couple of decisions at the same time, we lost the ball in terms of a contest.
We really thank you, and we are very honestly happy with what we have achieved as rugby players, and we say thanks very much. Fate conspired against us. The heavens opened and it rained and rained and rained. In the middle of summer. And our guys were not so adept at swimming.
The team suffered a 29-5 defeat to Fiji in the third place playoff after a 12-5 loss to England in the main cup semi-finals. It was an impressive performance for the Kenyan team in its second World Cup appearance since the 2009 campaign. Kenya began the championship on a high note, having defeated Philippines, Zimbabwe and Samoa in both teams' Group C matches.
To break loose, Kayenge!
goes over for the first try of the second half.
Kenya had luck in the main cup quarterfinals against a hard-fighting France before emerging victorious in extra time. However, the dream of playing in the final was ended by England in a father and son affair before the Britons were handed a 33-0 defeat by a dominant New Zealand, who remained unbeaten in the event. Canada surprised Samoa by claiming the plate trophy for the first time ever, following the 19-12 win. Mbaka Collins, GBS Sports.
Did we congratulate our Kenyan team? Now moving on, Tusker Premier League side Nairobi City Stars is now under the guidance of their goalkeeper trainer Charles Omondi after Gambian head coach left for his hometown due to family issues. The team is adopting though and won their last week's match against Mathare United, whom they will be playing again this coming Saturday, hoping for the same result. As compared to other seasons, the Kawangware-based side has not lost a single player in the transfer window. Baraz signed 3 players to strengthen the team.
It is the second week without former head coach Gambian Bayawade at the helm of Nairobi City Stars, which has seen the management elevate Charles Omondi, the goalkeeper trainer, as an interim head coach. The vacancy has seen a lot of application for the position, but for now, all eyes are on Harambee Stars assistant coach Ken Othiambo, who is tipped to reclaim the head coach role at the Kawangware-based side.
Because the person who was in charge left, then there's somebody who was attached, he's committed somewhere. He might be coming back in 2-3 weeks' time. Yeah, for the moment I have to be there.
As things stands now, he's our coach, he's the one who is in charge. Until the chairman, brings us another coach, we work with him.
The team has signed 3 players, a goalkeeper and 2 offensive midfielders, without losing any player as compared to the last 2 seasons, where Premier League sides signed a lot of their main players, weakening the team ahead of the second leg, a situation that saw the team escape relegation narrowly.
Being together as a family, as a unit, that's consistency. The consistency is there, no breakage of consistency within us. So for the consistency, at least we know we'll reach our target.
All the players are here, so we are just hoping that we'll be within our target come the end of the season.
The 3 signed include Baron Sami from Kangemi All-Stars and Raymond Omondi from Kibera Celtic, both who are offensive players, as well as Michael Juma, a goalkeeper signed from FISA Academy.
When we were shopping, we didn't reach our target because we didn't get the guys we needed, but the ones we got are offensive players.
City Stars finished 13th last season but are now on position 7 on 22 points after 15 games, winning 6, drawing 4 times and losing 5 times. The team is preparing to take on Mathare United at the Nyayo National Stadium on Saturday from 3 p.m. Florence Ndongo, GBS News.
Now, Malindi United and Kaloleni Queens overcame odds to grab national final slots. The teams proceeded to the Nairobi late this month for their finals, which they are expected to meet teams from Rift Valley, Nyanza and Eastern regions. We are talking about the Coca-Cola tournament.
It was a weekend of upsets in the Coca-Cola Coast Provincial Finals after Miners Malindi United Academy from North Coast overcame the odds to grab the boys' national final slot. North Coast side Malindi powered past their counterparts Kilifi United Academy 3-1 in the final, with Baraka Kasere finding the back of the net either side of Ali Hassan's goal for the Malindi-based side. David Kazungu scored the consolation for Kilifi. Malindi got to the finals after upsetting outright favourites Mombasa Stars 5-3 on post-match penalties after the two teams could only play to a barren draw in normal time, while Kilifi United shocked Mombasa Heroes with a 1-0 win in the second semi-final. North Coast teams Malindi and Kilifi went into their semi-final as underdogs, and although they lost both on possession and general play against Mombasa Heroes and Stars respectively, they were more clinical in front of a goal, unlike their opponents. The girls lot went to Kaloleni Queens from South Coast, who beat North Coast side Malindi Action Ladies 3-2 on post-match penalties. Malindi won their semi-final clash against Kwale Queens courtesy of Judith Hajila's solitary goal in the first half, while Kaloleni Queens also registered a 1-0 victory over Muungano. Kaloleni United and Malindi United teams broke into song and dance upon realizing they had earned the right to represent Coast in the national final slated for Nairobi this month. Mwinde's Malindi United will now retreat into serious training as they wait for other regions like Rift Valley, Nyanza, Eastern and national final host Nairobi, among others who will be playing in their provincial finals in the coming weeks. Ken Juguna, GBS Sports.
Well, that's it for GBS Sports News. And now I'll look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And that's it for GBS Late Night News. Thank you for watching. My name is George Okachi, and God bless you. See you again tomorrow.